What is going on, guys? It's Jack Girls 1875 here, and today I'm doing the video you guys voted for on the Twitter poll, and that is each Bundesliga club's most embarrassing loss. This is going to be a cracker. We'll get a good giggle at it, I promise. And as always, I love doing the videos you guys voted for on the Twitter poll because it means I'm doing the content you guys like to see. You've been engaging really well with the German football content, which means a lot. Thank you all for your amazing support. I'll be coming back to that at the end of the video because I do want to give a special thank you to everybody, especially over the past couple of weeks. You've given me such amazing support, but I'll be getting back onto that at the end of the video. Now, this one's pretty self-explanatory. I'll be running through the Bundesliga table, looking at each club's most embarrassing loss. Does exactly what it says on the tin. Now, what quantifies an embarrassing loss is either it was a drubbing, it was against a team they were expected to beat, or it was a game that cost them silverware that they really should have won. So those are the sort of criteria I've factored in. The next thing is all competitions are on the table today. Regionalliga, Bundesliga, European football, Pokal, you name it. Any Bundesliga club participates in it. Their embarrassing loss in it is up for scrutiny today. And the graphics, I'll do a little bit of explanation of how the graphics are going to work today. The badge of the club that we're looking at will be in the corner. The badge of the club they got beat by will be down in the bottom corner. Then there'll be the competition and the scoreline as well in a little picture. I just thought I'd explain how the graphics are going to work today because it's slightly different from how I usually do it. Like I was saying, it's sort of my opinion. I've picked this myself. So if you feel there is a more embarrassing result, I'd love to hear from you on this one especially. So please do get involved. I'll get back to that at the end of the video like I was saying. And having said all of that, let's jump right into it. So start off at the top of the table with the big boys, Bayern Munich, and this proves even giants can be humbled sometimes. So in 1991, Bayern had a pretty rough start to the season. They'd had a pretty slow start to the season. So when rock bottom Stuttgarter Kickers came to town on the 12th match day, maybe Bayern fans were expecting a nice win to ease them back into things and a bit of reversal of fortunes. Oh no. Oh dear God, no, that's not what happened. In the 8th minute, Karel Kula put the visitors ahead, shockingly. Now maybe Bayern fans expected, okay, a bit of a slow start, let's not panic. Then the 24th minute, Marcus Marin makes it 2-0. Panic setting in a little bit, half time comes along, right? Hopefully there's a bit of a boot up the backside in the dressing room, we'll come out. Oh no, in the 64th minute, Andreas Keim makes it 3-0. Oh dear, the embarrassment is getting even worse. Bayern get a goal back through Wohlfahrt in the 72nd minute, but then in the 90th minute, Dimitros Mutas puts the nail in the coffin, puts the boot into Bayern and makes it 4-1. Now this is really embarrassing for Bayern given that Stuttgarter Kickers hadn't scored a goal in their previous 5 games before this and were dead bottom of the table with only 3 wins, which is, you know, it's not great to lose by such a scoreline to a team like this. Now, something I want to tack onto this, it's a really fun fact, one of these weird things, is Stuttgarter Kickers actually have a positive record against Bayern Munich. They've played them 4 times, won 3 and drawn once. Now, that is phenomenal given that Dortmund and Mönchengladbach don't have positive records against Bayern Munich. But yeah, Stuttgarter Kickers went on to have a pretty torrid time of it that season, coming dead bottom and getting relegated, only adding to Bayern's embarrassment. And I don't think Bayern ever shook off this result because that season they came 10th, which you think about it for Bayern Munich now, the fans would be calling for everybody's head. Back then it was a little bit less strange, but it was still embarrassing all the same. So yeah, that's Bayern Munich 4-1 at home to Stuttgarter Kickers. This is beginning, you know, we've had a good start right now. We've had a good start to this video, and trust me, it gets worse. This isn't even the worst one. So now move on to RB Leipzig. Next we have RB Leipzig. Now as a new club, or as a newish club, RB Leipzig haven't had too many chances to embarrass themselves because generally they're quite a strong team. So I decided to go for this one, which was a 2-2 draw. They lost 5-4 on penalties in the Pokal first round in 2016 against Dynamo Dresden. Now, one of the reasons I picked this out is it's a derby of sorts. It's an Ost derby, as we call them, when an East German team plays another team from East German region. So, of course, and then there's the whole RB Leipzig thing, and Dynamo Dresden, a big traditional club, but we'd be going down rabbit holes of talking about that. So in the RB Leipzig, we're probably predicting a nice, easy win, a nice start to the season with a nice Pokal win in the first round against a bang average Dynamo Dresden side, who were a mid-table Zweite Bundesliga team at the time. Oh no. Even the 2-0 lead at half-time had just lulled the RB Leipzig into a false sense of security. Dynamo Dresden, courtesy of a Stefan Kuczka double, managed to make RB Leipzig bottle it massively. Now, when RB Leipzig came out in the second half, they were far too complacent. Dynamo dominated them. It probably should have been 4-2 come full-time. Full-time comes around. They put another torrid, nail-biting for their fans display in extra time. They managed to limp to penalties where Poulsen embarrassed himself, blasting the crucial one over the bar. Dynamo Dresden score the winning penalty. By the bing, bada boom, you have RB Leipzig's probably worst Pokal defeat. They go out to their sort of regional rivals in East Germany, in the former East Germany, and yeah, it was not a great result for RB Leipzig, but tradition won over buying your way to success in that one as well. And RB Leipzig, it meant they'd have to wait a little while longer for that Pokal, which the leadership at the club were expecting to win within 3 or 4 years. They still haven't won it yet. But yeah, Dynamo Dresden weren't exactly a great team that season. They limped their way into 8th in the Zweite Bundesliga that season. And let's be honest, bottling a 2-0 lead at home against division below your opposition isn't exactly great for RB Leipzig. So yeah, that was RB Leipzig's one. I know it's a bit sort of because it was penalties, but it's hard to find ones for RB Leipzig because they haven't embarrassed themselves too much. But this is a good one because it is a derby of sorts as well. We're now going to move on to Wolfsburg. Next up, we have Wolfsburg, and there was only one clear choice for me here, and that was a second round demolition at home at the hands of RB Leipzig. Now, losing 6-1 at home is embarrassing in the first place, but when your manager before the game said, we're going to win this easily, and I want to win the Pokal, it probably is going to look very, very silly, isn't it? So, a Jeffrey Bruma own goal put RB Leipzig ahead in the 13th minute. Wolfsburg get to half-time, 1-0 down. Okay, let's have a good second half. Let's try and get back into the tie. It's only one goal. Well, that one goal turned into 6. Sabitzer scored in the 55th, Forsberg in the 58th, Leimer in the 61st, Werner got himself a brace in the 68th and in the 88th. And then in the 89th minute, Wolfsburg finally woke up and scored a goal, without Weghorst getting the consolation which the fans actually aggressively booed at the time. So losing 6-1 at home is embarrassing. That's why I picked that one out. Just simple as that. It's the cup, it's a competition that Wolfsburg really should be getting further in than the second round. And also it's just doubly embarrassing because Glasner said they were going to beat RB Leipzig, no problems, and, it was going to be an easy game. So Glesner is part of the embarrassment in that one. Also the fact that they waited until the 89th minute, and also the fact that it was only 1-0 at half time, that Wolfsburg could have came out, fought harder, maybe have actually tried. But no, RB Leipzig decided to absolutely steamroller them, which, at home in the cup, it's not what the fans want to see. And then you pathetically decide to just tap one in when RB Leipzig have stopped trying because they've already, it's like stop, he's already dead. He's like that meme, But RB Leipzig have just stopped trying. So yeah, not great from, in fact, very not great from Wolfsburg there. And just roundly embarrassing. It was a clear choice for me for Wolfsburg because Glesner's comments about we're going to win this easy just made it all the more sweeter when it actually happened. So next, we'll move on to Eintracht Frankfurt. Next we have Eintracht Frankfurt, and again there was only really one clear choice for me here, and that was their embarrassing exit in the first round of the 2018 DFB Pokal at the hands of Regionalliga Südwest 4th Division side SSV Ulm. Now, when you go to a 4th Division team as defending champions of the competition, you'd expect to come away with a pretty convincing win, especially since you're playing a good team. Oh no. Ulm had different ideas. So it's 0-0 at half-time. Eintracht have been dominating the game mostly and just couldn't find the back of the net. Okay, that's pretty standard. Ulm have probably parked the bus. It's to be expected. So in the 48th minute, Stefan Knielet picks up on a mistake made by the Eintracht backline, absolutely runs through their defence and sticks the ball away. 1-0 Ulm. Oh dear. We can solve this, we can fix this. Again, Eintracht Frankfurt, pepper Ulm's goal, can't do anything. In the 75th minute, Vitali looks, again, due to a mistake at the back, managed to capitalise on it, make the defence look really, really stupid. It's 2-0. Now, Pacienza does score in the 90th minute, but by that point, it's all too late, and reigning Pokal champions Eintracht Frankfurt are put out by a Regionalliga Südwest team. One that would end up coming 8th in the 4th division that year, I'd like to add as well, whilst Eintracht Frankfurt got to a Europa League semi-final. I'd just like to remind everybody of that fact. Very, very embarrassing. If you go to a 4th division team as defending champions with a strong team out, they didn't even play a second team, you're expecting to come away with a pretty convincing win. I can imagine the fans weren't best pleased. Going from only a few months earlier lifting the damn thing after beating Bayern Munich in the final to then getting put out by a Regionalliga Südwest team. Not great at all. We're now going to move on to Borussia Dortmund. We now move on to Borussia Dortmund. In 1991 must have been the Annus Horribilis for big teams in the Bundesliga, because this result, like Bayern's, also happened in 1991. So on the 18th match day in the Bundesliga, Dortmund travelled down to the Neckarstadion to play VfB Stuttgart, and they were top of the table. Dortmund were top of the table. So whilst it's a tough away game, they maybe expect to continue their good season, go into the reverse fixtures, top of the league, and continue challenging. Oh no, Stuttgart made sure by full time that all title hopes were firmly in the bin. So in the 3rd minute, Ilfur Sverrisson puts Stuttgart 1-0 up. Okay, a bit of a shock. Stuttgart have had a bright start. Maybe Dortmund can reply. Oh no, because in this 4th minute, Allgauer makes sure Stuttgart go 2-0 up. Then Sverrisson gets himself his brace in the 11th minute. In the 25th minute, he completes his hat-trick. Oh dear, half-time, 4-0, not great at all. Then Dortmund come out in the second half and are even worse, and they honestly are lucky it doesn't become 8 or 9-0. So, Allgauer gets himself his brace in the 63rd minute, makes it 5-0, and then in the 89th and 90th, Fritz Walter gets himself a brace as well and firmly sticks the boot into Dortmund's title hopes. Now this game did have a massive effect as Dortmund fell away and ended up coming 7th that season, all because they could not beat Stuttgart. A Stuttgart team that I'd say were quite good but nothing special, and this sent shockwaves through the Bundesliga at the time. Everybody was shocked that this Dortmund team, a really good Dortmund team, there was so many talented players, could go down to Stuttgart and lose 7-0, especially since Sverrisson was one of these average Stuttgart players. He was getting a start because the player that was usually being ahead of him was injured. Sverrisson instead ripped Dortmund apart, and then it went on to have actually quite a decent season after a slow start to the season. So there you go. Quite the shock. I think this is probably one of the worst ones on the list. So yeah, old Dortmund not doing well there. We now move on to Bayer Leverkusen. Next up, we have Bayer Leverkusen, and I feel very, very sorry for Bayer Leverkusen here. This is probably the saddest one on the list. So, in 2000, Bayer Leverkusen had a star-studded side and were on the precipice of a historic treble. They were in the DFB Pokal final, they were in the Champions League final, but most importantly, on matchday 34, the last match of the Bundesliga, they were about to win the Bundesliga title. All they needed to do was win away at Unterhaching, at the Sportpark Unterhaching, and that would be it. They'd be Bundesliga champions. No matter what the result 30 miles up the road in Munich was against Werder Bremen, when Bayern was playing Werder Bremen, Bayer Leverkusen would win the league. All they needed to do was win. It didn't matter how they won, they just needed to win. But Unterhaching had other ideas and decided to firmly rain on Bayer Leverkusen's parade. So Bayer Leverkusen started the game brightly, but try as they might, couldn't find the back of the net. And in the 20th minute, Michael Ballack scored at the wrong end of the pitch. Yep, Michael Ballack turned a pretty harmless ball into his own net. Nightmare 1-0. Oh dear. They get to half time and Bayern Munich are winning against Werder Bremen. So now In the second half, Leverkusen go out, all guns blazing, but try as they might, they just can't find the back of the net. Now, Leverkusen had set up very, very attacking, and the later the game got on, the more exposed they looked. Unterhaching sprung them on the counter-attack, a ball got whipped in, and big Marcus Oberleitner nodded the ball into the back of the net. 2-0, Bayern beat Werder Bremen 3-1. The title, which actually had to be hastily transported to Munich from Unterhaching, got taken to the Olympiastadion, and it was Bayern that would hoist it above their heads, not Bayer Leverkusen. Now, considering Unterhaching were 10th and had quite a poor season, they didn't really deserve to be 10th. This one was really, really embarrassing, and the embarrassment continued because the treble turned into nothing. They lost the Pokal final and they lost the Champions League final, leading to Bayer Leverkusen have the rather unfortunate nickname of Bayer Neverkusen. Really, really unfortunate, especially the Ballack own goal there. I'm sure he was expecting to score one up the other end and win them the lead, but there you go. Embarrassing because, come on, it's Unterhaching, but then again, that's football. It's a cruel mistress. We now move on to Union Berlin. Next up we have Union Berlin. So it's 1992 and it's the Regionalliga players. So at the time the Regionalliga made up the third division of German football. There was no Dritte Liga back then. So Union were in the playoff against FSV Zwickau. We were on the precipice of promotion to the Zweite Bundesliga. Great. But Zwickau decided that, oh no, we're going to be the team going up. So this one's very, very embarrassing for one reason. So in the 21st minute, Union go 1-0 up through Marcela. Okay, fair enough. 32nd minute, Bernd Tiepold draws the hosts level, draws Zwickau level. Not too much to shout home about so far. The second half starts in the 49th minute. Simmerling puts Union Berlin 2-1 up. Brilliant. Then Bernd Tiepold gets his brace 2-2. Okay, this isn't seeming embarrassing so far. 63rd minute, Tiepold makes it 3-2, completes his hat-trick. 74th minute, Ralf Wagner scores a penalty, 4-2. Oh dear, Union are looking at collapsing here. Tiepold then gets his fourth of the game, 5-2 in the 84th minute. Oh, this is turning into a very, very embarrassing result very, very quickly. Then Hoffman in the 85th minute, only a minute later, capitalises on a pretty bad mistake, 6-2. Tiepold gets yet another goal in the 88th minute, 7-2. And finally, in the 90th minute, to complete the embarrassment, Wagner makes it 8-2. So from 2-1 to 8-2. Oh dear, so in a half of football, especially after taking the lead, Union Berlin concede 7 goals and I'll be playing Regionalliga football for another season and we're firmly at the laughingstock of German football that year. Zwickau made it to the Zweite Bundesliga, didn't stay there very long, but still 8-2, especially because it was 1-1 at half time and they took the lead not long after the second half started as well, only for Tiepold to go on a one-man mission and absolutely destroy Union Berlin there, absolutely. So I do apologise, I couldn't find a picture of that game, so it's just a random picture of Union Berlin playing Zwickau in the East German days. But yeah, this is probably the worst on the list for the fact that they took the lead and then ended up losing 8-2. I think that's pretty unique. And probably one of the more really embarrassing ones on this list. So yeah, that was that's bottle and promotion in spectacular style. We'll give them that. But yeah, Zwickau firmly deserved that one. I'd say people build that man a statue outside the Stadion Zwickau. That's what I have to say about that one. We now move on to VfB Stuttgart. Next we have VfB Stuttgart, and well, they're not a team that have embarrassed themselves a lot recently. I mean, I don't want to go back to the 1950s because you can't find pictures of anything like that. So I decided to pick this one out, a 6-0 away loss to Augsburg. Now, it was the penultimate day of the season. It didn't really matter much. Stuttgart were already firmly in the relegation playoff, but then again, they couldn't be caught by the automatic relegation Nuremberg either. So it's just a bit embarrassing, when you know there's a potentially getting relegated, which they did in the playoff. You want to maybe go out with a bit of a spark, but instead, no, they go away to Augsburg, who again, they weren't exactly great that season either, and ended up losing 6-0. Now, I do apologise for that one. If there's anybody that supports Stuttgart out there and does have a more embarrassing result, then put it in the comments. I just didn't really want to bring up some obscure 11-0 loss to Rot-Weiss Oberhausen in the 50s. I didn't really want to bring that up. I didn't really want to start going back to these sort of things. I did want to try and keep it sort of in the last 30 years. So, yeah, that's the only one I could really find for Stuttgart. And it's just embarrassing because for the fans who'd already had a pretty crap season, losing 6-0, it's not fun, is it? It's not great. And especially since I had a World Cup winner in that backline as well, Pavard, who had played a pretty major part in France's World Cup win. You just don't expect it at all. So there we go for Stuttgart. I'm sorry that one is a bit vague. We're now going to move on to Borussia Mönchengladbach. Next up we have Borussia Mönchengladbach, and I've went with a Europa League home drubbing at the hands of Austrian outfit Wolfsberger AC because going into this, Mönchengladbach were really expected to win. They'd had a great season the season before, got European football, excellent. They had an excellent start to the Bundesliga campaign. They were actually sitting top of the table at the time in September, and they'd had some great players, Marcus Thuram, all of those players that you know and love at Mönchengladbach. So when they get drawn in a pretty easy Europa League group and they're playing the perhaps worst team in the group, Austrian team Wolfsberger AC, playing the Österreicher Bundesliga, had just got European football, just scraped their way into European football in the European places in Austria. They were expected to win at home, but oh no. Wolfsberger AC had different ideas. So in the 13th minute, Sean Weissman, the Israeli striker, puts Wolfsberg 1-0 up. Okay, a bit of a shock. Maybe Mönchengladbach can come back. No, Leek Gibb in the 31st minute makes it 2-0 before Ritzmaier adds insult to injury in the 41st minute. So Mönchengladbach have quickly become the laughing stock of European football. And within the space of 45 minutes, they're 3-0 down to a team that struggled to get European football in the Austrian league. Then they go out in the second half. Nothing much happens until the 68th minute where Leek Gibb completes his brace. He gets himself a brace, 68th minute. There you go. Oh dear. Mönchengladbach have roundly been humiliated, and they didn't exactly have a very nice time of it after that, because it ended up they got eliminated out of the group stages. And, it's not exactly great that when you're Mönchengladbach and you were in what should have been a pretty easy group. So there's Mönchengladbach's one for you. Not great to be getting beat by an Austrian team in a group you were fully expected to get out of. Poor old Mönchengladbach. The European campaign went a bit better this season. They got beat by Man City, which isn't as embarrassing as getting humped by Wolfsberger AC. So there we go. Mönchengladbach have improved, but that was still pretty bad. We're now going to move on to SC Freiburg. Next we have SC Freiburg. Now I couldn't find a picture of this game, so you can watch Freiburg 2 play Sandhausen 2 instead there. So for SC Freiburg, I picked their second round exit in 2016 at the hands of Zweite Bundesliga SV Sandhausen. Now, like RB Leipzig and like Stuttgart, Freiburg haven't embarrassed themselves much over the years, and I'm not going back to the 50s for obscure losses either. So I think this one, 3-3, they go out 4-3 on penalties. So you're expected to win. The lead exchange hands multiple times before Peterson in the 82nd minute equalises for Freiburg. 3-3, they've survived their scare. Hopefully they can go on and maybe, actually win the game in extra time. Extra time's pretty boring, and then Sandhausen win on penalties. There's not really much to this game. It's your typical the smaller team won on penalties sort of thing, although Sandhausen did take the lead twice in the game before Freiburg equalised twice. But that's that. It was a pretty, it's one of those ones, your bog standard, like I said, the smaller team won on penalties. But Freiburg recently haven't embarrassed themselves too much. I could put in a drubbing by Bayern, but that is expected. This one, it was embarrassing because they, lost to a second division team. So again, like with Stuttgart, there wasn't too much for Freiburg. Sandhausen put them out. Sandhausen had a decent season that season, to be fair. There you go, that's it for Freiburg. Again, sorry for it being so vague, but it is difficult. with these sorts of teams because they don't tend to embarrass themselves that much. So well done to Freiburg. You know, I was expecting it to be the other way around. I thought it'd be easy for Freiburg and hard for Bayern, but there you go. So well done, Freiburg. You've not embarrassed yourselves too much. So there's that one. 4-3 penalties lost to Sandhausen in the Pokal. Your bog standard stuff. So that's that. Let's move on to Augsburg now. Next up we have Augsburg, and for me there was only ever going to be one choice with this one, and that was a 2-1 away loss at the hands of Regionalliga West side Verl in the first round of the 2019 DFB Pokal. So Augsburg travelled down to Verl, probably hoping to get a nice win, 4th division opposition, we can do this, we'll get past them, we'll try and have a good run in the Pokal. But Verl had different ideas. So in the 8th minute, Succe manages to turn it into his own net. That's always embarrassing. The Verl fans go wild. The Augsburg fans go, oh well, we can maybe get back into this. Then in the 23rd minute, Ron Schallenberg puts Verl 2-0 up. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. And then Verl did the age-old and beloved tactic of parking the bus. There you go. It always works. Tried and tested. Verl sat back and survived wave after wave after wave of Augsburg attacks until the 83rd minute. Andre Hahn manages to dispatch a penalty, but by that point it was all too late and Augsburg went crashing out of the Pokal. Now there was a few choices for Augsburg, but I decided to go for this one since Verl hadn't had a great start to the campaign that season. Now they did end up beating Lokomotiv Leipzig in the Regionalliga playoffs and going up into the Dritte Liga, but they hadn't had a great start. And Augsburg are actually a decent club side most of the time, cup side most of the time. So yeah, it was really, really unexpected, and it's just not great losing to 4th division opposition, is it? So especially since you let them park the bus and couldn't park their defence with attackers like Vargas and that. So yeah, Augsburg, not great for old Augsburg there, unfortunately. So Verl put them out. Augsburg didn't have a great time of it that season in general. So there you go. We now move on to Hoffenheim. Next we have Hoffenheim, and this one really was a no-brainer for me, and it was a absolutely massive, massive shock when it happened. So in 2012, Hoffenheim travelled to the capital to play a Pokal first round games. Who were they playing? Was it Hertha? Was it Union? No, it was Berliner AK, or Berliner Athletic Club, who were in the Regionalliga Nordost, had won the Berliner Landespokal, therefore qualifying to the first round of the DFB Pokal. Now, Hoffenheim were expected to comfortably win this. It wasn't just, go get the win, get back out. They were expected to really comfortably win this. They were a Bundesliga side. Berliner AK were a Regionalliga Nordost side, and not a very good one at that as well. They sort of lucked their way to winning the Berliner Landespokal. So really the view of the media was they really shouldn't be there. Hoffenheim should be a simple get along to Posh Stadion, win, get back out. Unfortunately, Berliner AK, for Hoffenheim, Berliner AK decided that, you know what, we're going to turn into prime Bayern Munich for the day. So in the 3rd minute, Kamak puts Berliner AK 1-0 up. Okay, like I was saying, for a lot of this video, it's an early start. Usually that angers the bigger team and you end up with a cricket score. But in the 31st minute, after Hoffenheim made a very, very silly mistake at the back, Gerlach manages to put the side from the capital 2-0 up. Then in the 40th minute, Kruschke makes it even worse for Hoffenheim. It's 3-0. They go in at half time. Hoffenheim are looking very, very silly. Berliner AK have executed perfect counter-attacks. They've been playing like prime Bayern Munich all day. And then eventually in the 49th minute, they come out. Kamak gets a brace. 49th minute, like I was saying, 4-0. Done, dusted. Hoffenheim welly and truly embarrassed in the capital at the Post Stadion. So yeah, it was Berlin, wir fahren nach Berlin, but not for very long. Certainly not the final. Berliner AK then got put out in the second round, but they lived the dream for a little while, which is brilliant for a little club like them. But for Hoffenheim, oh dear, just not great. Hoffenheim losing to a bang average Regionalliga Nordost side. I think Berliner AK fought relegation for quite a lot of that season as well. So that just adds to the embarrassment that Hoffenheim had to suffer that day. So there you go. Hoffenheim went to Berlin. Wasn't for the final. It was to get put out by Berliner AK. Let's move on to Werder Bremen now. Next up we have Werder Bremen, and there was a few to choose from for Werder Bremen, but I eventually went with their first round Pokal loss in 2006 at the hand of 4th Division side FK Pirmasens. So when Werder Bremen went out to FK Pirmasens, they were probably expecting a easy win. Now, Werder Bremen had an absolutely amazing team. Quite a few players from their Bundesliga winning team a few years before were still around. They had a great team. They'd end up having a very successful Bundesliga campaign. Unfortunately, their Pokal campaign stopped dead. So when they went down to Pirmasens, like I was saying, they're probably expecting an easy win. The first half was a pretty torrid affair. It was 0-0 at half time. It was a pretty dead game up until the 64th minute when Tobias Zellner puts Pirmasens 1-0 up. Wow. Okay, maybe there's going to be a horrible shock here for Werder Bremen. Fortunately, in the 83rd minute, Klasnic puts Werder Bremen back level. Great. It goes to extra time. Werder Bremen have a very bad extra time. Baumann gets sent off in the 108th minute. And it goes to penalties. They were very unlucky. The Pirmasens didn't score. There was a few scares. Pirmasens nearly scored a few times. It goes to penalties and Pirmasens end up winning 5-3. Really horrible for Werder Bremen because they had a really good side. Pirmasens were quite a lowly side. You know, they were a 4th division team, but they had the budget and the stadium and the players of a 5th division team. So it wasn't great for Werder Bremen at all. And despite the fact they had a great season that season, they just got put out the cup. And unfortunately, Klasnic, the man that was a hero that avoided the initial shock, missed the crucial penalty as well. That's how fate works. Unfortunately, Werder, you've learnt that lesson there. And it's hard to believe that only 2 years later they won the thing after that one. But yeah, for me there was a few ones in there, but it had to be the Pirmasens defeat for Werder because that was a really big shock at the time as well. And it was just, it's a head in the hands moment for old Werder. The fans weren't happy at all. So we're now going to move on to Hertha BSC. Next we have Hertha BSC, and I've went with the DFB Pokal loss against Eintracht Braunschweig in the first round last year, the 5-4 loss. Now, there is other ones. You could argue that the 1-0 derby loss at Alta Försterei was embarrassing, because that was the first Bundesliga Berlin derby and Hertha were expected to win it. There's also the loss to Wuppertaler SV in the 2006 edition of the Pokal. But for me as a Hertaner, this one was really bad because Labadia in pre-season was giving it big that we were going to really go far in the cup and everything like that. And it just didn't happen, especially since Eintracht Braunschweig had just been promoted to the Zweite Bundesliga out the Dritte Liga as well. We were really expected to win this with a star-studded squad. And this is when the cracks that have really caused problems all season began to show. So this is when, Eintracht Braunschweig turned the defence inside out. Mittelstedt scored an own goal, which just, announced how his season was going to be. And it was just a game of abject humiliation, to be honest. It was really a game should have won, and it was made all the worse by Labadia giving it the big talk that we were going to win the Pokal. Well, we're not going to win the Pokal, but we're going to challenge in the Pokal. He wanted to at least get to the semi-finals, which really is rotten given that Bayern have been put out this year and everything. It really was not nice at all. This one. So like I said, as a Hertaner, I use my discretion a bit. And whilst I think the derby loss, the loss to Wuppertaler SV could be considered more embarrassing, I'm going with this one because it was just the expectation, the team, and the fact that what is really a bang average relegation fodder Braunschweig side put us out. It is really embarrassing. Like I said, I'm seeing it through blue and white tinted specs here, but yeah, for me, it has to be this one. Purely because of the promise the team had, and we ended up just getting ran off the park, and the scoreline betrays it. Braunschweig really should have won more comfortably as well. So yeah, that was the one for Hertha, definitely. I've tried to repress the memory, but it's all come flooding back now. So I think we'll move on for this one quickly and go to Mainz. So, next up we have Mainz, and for Mainz I went with 2-0 Rheinpalatinate derby loss in the first round of the 2019 DFB Pokal. So, a lot of you will be going, why not the 8-0 loss to RB Leipzig? I'd take an 8-0 league loss any day over losing to your derby rivals who are 2 divisions below you and are in serious financial trouble. What everybody probably forgot is Kaiserslautern were literally a dog's hair away from getting put into administration, and they were toiling in the Dritte Liga. So Mainz going along to that game really should have won. So it was a pretty unremarkable first half. Starke then gets a penalty in the 63rd minute. He dispatches of that. Even today, Mainz fans would say that isn't a penalty. I'm pretty sure some Kaiserslautern fans, despite it being a derby, said that was a dodgy one. And then Florian Pick picked up on, see what I did there, a dodgy pass out from the back in the 90th minute and just rubbed salt into the wound for Mainz. Now, the Mainz manager, Sandro Schwarz, had made a very, very big fool of himself by saying, you know what, this is the easiest derby ever, Kaiserslautern history is irrelevant, they're down in the lower divisions now, we're going to assert ourselves. Well, how well did that go, Herr Schwarz? It didn't, did it? So, yep, losing a derby to when your rivals are 2 divisions below you is just not on. It is really, really embarrassing, especially in the cup. Mainz had a decent team. They could have at least got to, the quarter-finals if they got given a good draw, and they just didn't do that. And like I said, Schwarz made himself look silly. Not the first time on this list that the managers made themselves look silly after saying they'd win. And yes, it just was a one that shocked a lot of people, but Kaiserslautern fans were sent into jubilation. They had an okay run in the cup that year, didn't have a particularly great Dritte Liga campaign. Mainz nearly got relegated, and so that one, a bit of old abject humiliation from Mainz there, unfortunately. Abject humiliation is the word of the day for this, or the words of the day for this video, absolutely. So, poor old Mainz there. I think we'll stop upsetting Mainz fans now. And we'll move on to Erste FC Köln. So next we have Erste FC Köln. Now, a few stood out for me with Köln, but I decided to go with a 2000 trip to the Ernst Gruber Stadion in the first round of the Pokal. So in 2000, Köln had a pretty decent mid-table Bundesliga side, and they were tipped for a sort of little run in the Pokal, if you like. And Magdeburg were in the Oberliga Süd, which at the time was the 4th division. That became the 5th division after they restructured the league. So Magdeburg were expected to lose this one heavily, and Köln were expected to get a pretty confident win. And this was probably one of the biggest DFB Pokal shocks of all time. So anyway, the game starts, and it's very, very tactical to start with. And then in the 3rd minute, Zani gets cut down in the box by Köln, and then he dispatches the penalty he won himself, 1-0. Scherz does draw Köln level in the 11th minute before Dirk Hannemann puts the hosts back in the lead. Papic then puts Magdeburg 3-1 up, and then it's half time. Köln are looking quite silly by this point and were beginning to lose a grip on the game, and they'd started making silly fouls. They'd really sort of lost the plot. It looked like the roles had been reversed. Magdeburg with the Bundesliga side, Köln with the Oberliga Süd side. Second half starts. Papic in the 54th minute puts Magdeburg 4-1 up and dampens Köln's spirits even further. Then Springer does get a goal back for Köln, 4-2. But then in the 86th minute, Offadale makes the result go Magdeburg's way well and truly, 5-2. Really, really embarrassing for Köln, considering they had a really decent squad back then, and Magdeburg had a firmly 4th division semi-professional squad. This really should not happen. This was also at the height of Magdeburg's financial problems as well. So Köln really, really should have won this game. It's embarrassing to lose that badly to that Magdeburg team. Even 5 years later, it wouldn't have been as bad. It still would have been pretty bad, wouldn't have been as bad, but Magdeburg were in a state. And whilst they did manage to limp their way to promotion that season, I wouldn't say they were a great team, that Magdeburg side at all. Not one that really should have been capable of causing a shot. There we go, there's poor old Köln getting put out by Magdeburg. Let's move on to Arminia Bielefeld. Next up we have Arminia Bielefeld, and they join the club that Stuttgart, Augsburg and RB Leipzig are in, that they haven't, and Freiburg, that they haven't managed to embarrassed themselves too much in their history. Now, obviously, like I said, I'm not going back to 1928 for an obscure loss against Rapid Vienna or anything like that. It's not happening. But for me, Arminia Bielefeld, if we look at it recently, their 1-0 loss in this season's Pokal at the hands of Rot-Weiss Essen is probably quite embarrassing. They went along Essen, obviously, in the 4th division. Arminia Bielefeld Bundesliga and were actually doing quite well at that point before they sort of lost the plot a bit. You know, it's just one of these ones the smaller team managed to get through. Now, of course, Essen went on quite a little run. Arminia Bielefeld have ended up in the relegation zone, but there you go. To me, it's just one of those games, you know. Essen won. It was a bit of a shock. It's embarrassing for Bielefeld. It's the only one I could really find that was recent and that would be easy to talk about. So there you go. 1-0 Essen. Arminia Bielefeld got put out the cup. Just your bog standard. The lower division team defended well and hit them out on the counter. So there we go. I do apologise for the vagueness of that one. But Arminia Bielefeld are in the prestigious club have not managed to embarrass themselves too often. We now move on to Schalke. Last but by no means least, we have Schalke, who are no strangers to abject humiliation. Now, there was a few I could have went for with Schalke, a few European results, a few Pokal results, a few earlier league results, but I actually decided to go for their 8-0 thumping at the Allianz Arena at the start of this season, because it just sort of signalled the start of what was to come this season for Schalke, and it was just horrifying how bad they were. Now, Schalke went into this game. Obviously, Bayern away is a daunting game. It's not the one that any team wants to start off with in their Bundesliga campaign. So Schalke they had a poor season last season, but they're hoping, you know what, we'll give a good account of ourselves, we'll put the demons of last season behind us, and we'll maybe start to have a bit of improvement. Oh no, that's not what was going to happen at all. Gnabry treated the Schalke defence as his personal training dummies. Lewandowski was in fine form with a penalty. Müller popped up. Sané got his first Bundesliga goal for Bayern. Goretzka got in on the action, and a young Jamal Musiala, who played his first professional senior game of football, decided that he would also absolutely trounce Schalke's defence as well. It could have easily been 9 or 10, and it really was a signal of things to come for Schalke, because what happened in that game has come back to bite them a lot. I think it ruined their confidence, which has only contributed to the mess they're in this season. So I just had to go for that one, because it was utter abject humiliation. It's not the way to start a league campaign. When you're starting a league campaign, you want confident. Yes, Bayern away is a tough game, but you want to at least try and get a draw, start off the season well, banish the demons. Instead, Schalke let the demons take over, and now look where they are. So yeah, that's that one for Schalke. Pretty damn embarrassing. First game of the season, the curtain opener, and you lose 8-0. So there we go, guys. That was that one for Schalke. I'll now move on to the outro. So there we have it, guys. The cringe fest is over, I promise. That was each Bundesliga club's most embarrassing loss. This was a really fun one to make. I really enjoyed making the graphics up. I really enjoyed researching the games, going through my old Bundesliga results and everything like that, seeing what ones I could pick out. So yeah, I really enjoyed doing the research for this one. Really enjoyed making up the graphics. So thank you so much for taking part in the poll and voting for this one, guys. So before I jump into the big thank you I want to give out, like I said at the start of the video, this one was, in my opinion, as it is with these videos always, if you want to get involved in the discussion, please do put it in the comments down below. First of all, what result do you think was the worst one? I'd love to hear from you guys. Personally, I think in terms of embarrassment and, just sheer wackiness and humiliation of it, it's got to be Union's 8-2 loss to Zwickau. Then again, I might be looking through my blue and white tinted specs again. I want to hear from you guys on that one. Secondly, if you disagree, if there's a more embarrassing result from your club, or you just want to have a good moan about me humiliating your club on YouTube, then please get involved in the comments. I love to hear from you guys. Always love feedback as well. So I'd just like to say a massive thank you to all the support you guys have been giving me on the channel. Everybody's been fantastic. I've been getting lovely messages and everything like that, and it means a lot. I mean, sometimes I can feel a bit down in the dumps, so I don't feel as confident in myself. So to hear the support you guys give me and to see the support you guys give me is absolutely fantastic. It means a million, honestly. You know, the confidence that you guys do, you lift me up, you encourage me to do this, you encourage me to share my passions, and it's absolutely brilliant. It's brilliant to see the way you guys engage as well. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. I wouldn't be here without all of you guys. And yeah, y'all give me the motivation to do this, so thank you so much. And there's some special things I'd like to give out. Thank you to the Hibernian Women's Supporters Club. Everybody over there is fantastic. They've given me the confidence to do this. You know, they encourage me, they share my stuff out all the time. Same with Strong Opinions Hib podcast. The two lads over there are fantastic. They've given me some great feedback. They encourage me all the time as well, so two very big special thank yous to them. And then a thank you to all you wonderful people in general. So that is that. Like I said, get involved in the discussion, and I love to hear from you guys. You know the drill. If you enjoyed the video, please smash that like button. If you're new, please subscribe for unique football content, and I'll see you all in a while. Jack out.